In celebration of Human Rights Day, today's episode, I'll be talking about GBV, that is gender-based violence, and femicide. Listen, when women stand up for themselves, when women become vocal about things and the issues that they're going through, it does not mean that they hate men. It just means that they're using their voice to speak about some things which have been happening in our society that are despicable and that harm the female gender. Sometimes men might think women are trying to become like them. Women are women, we will never be men, and men can never be women. So there are things that women go through demeaning to the woman. And, considering what has been happening in our country, we do know that we've had young girls and young women who've been killed, and also older women who've been raped. There's so much that is happening in our society that is just wrong in so many ways. And not just talking about, what has happened to women, but also there are men who have been killed by women. So when it comes to gender-based violence, this thing cuts across. It doesn't respect age, it doesn't respect gender, it doesn't respect your job position, the work that you have, but it cuts across. It can affect anyone. So understanding that women are not trying to be men, but women are just saying we need to be respected, we need to be cared for, we need to be protected, we need to be heard. It's not about us trying to compete. It's not a competition. It's about equality. We are equal. Both of us, we need each other. Without the man, there is no woman, and without the woman, there is no man, because we need each other. This is biologically proven. For there to be a child, there has to be a man and a woman, meaning both of us, we are equally important in procreation process. We cannot say one gender is more important than the other gender. There has to be an understanding that both of us, we are equally important, and hence we need to respect each other. We need to care for each other. We need to be accountable as our brothers, as our fathers, as our uncles, as our nephews, as our grandfathers, as the male figures in our lives. All we're trying to say, even as our male friends, all we're trying to say is hold your brothers accountable. Be your brother's keeper. Don't allow men to sit down demeaning women, sexualizing women, and talking about women as though they are talking about objects. If you hear such a talk, you as a man just stepping in the gap and being our protector, speaking sense and shedding light into the wrong things that come when people believe in that particular manner, that women are just but objects of pleasure to men. Women are just meant to procreate and to be mothers and nurturers and to take care of the home. Their work is to stay at home and do the work. And I'm saying this because you need to understand this. People pass on from this life. We're not here forever. And yes, assuming, yes, a woman is doing those things, she's doing all the duties at home. Something happens to the husband, then what happens? Or the husband becomes incapacitated, he cannot work anymore. Something happens, he gets sick. Then what happens? And only the woman now is able to go out and provide for the family, because things do happen. We are living in times where things have changed. The systems of the world have become so different. Women are in the workforce. We cannot just say the work of women is XYZ and that is enough. Stay at home, become mothers, get pregnant, serve your husbands, submit to your husbands, do everything your husband says, and you should not say anything else. In other words, you're meek and you're weak. Your voice does not matter. We cannot live in such a society. I believe anyone who has a sober mind and who's sane, if you are a man, you'd want your daughter to have a voice. You wouldn't want to give your daughter to someone who abuses them physically, emotionally, economically, sexually. You wouldn't want your daughter to be in such a situation. And all of us, we're daughters to someone. We are just asking the men to become more accountable, our society to become more accountable, instead of victim blaming, getting to a place where we find solutions, and those who have done these deeds are held accountable in the court of justice. Not just assuming, she wanted it. She displayed herself. She's the one at fault. Her dressing is what made that person want her. Because, hey, you'll go somewhere, you're dressed from head to toe, and yet someone will still, talk to you in an indecent, inappropriate manner. If someone's mind is perverted, it goes beyond what you're wearing. Because someone can look at you, you're fully dressed, but they have already undressed you with their eyes. So we cannot blame them because of what they wear. And we say that, the sexual abuse, the sexual harassment is happening because of the things that they wear. That cannot be the narrative. We have to get to a place of understanding that someone who decides to abuse the other person, it's a choice they make. Because you see, you can see something and you can choose not to abuse it. You can choose to stay away from it. You can choose to walk away from it. You don't have to take action. Yes, you don't like it. Yes, it's tempting you, apparently tempting you. Yes. But then again, you can make a choice and say, the person that I am and what I stand for does not allow me to do XYZ, and you move away from it. You don't have to take action. And I'll say this also, when I'm talking to men, I want you to understand this. You have to become the role models you want your sons to adore and to emulate and to look up to. Personally, I've watched a lot of documentaries on YouTube. I watched documentaries on GBV, not just in Kenya, but globally, like what is happening in different communities. What are some of the causes that are leading to these things? And sometimes, as much as we don't want to say, the issue of substance abuse and drugs abuse and addiction has led to some of these cases, it also plays a part. So the more we keep on normalizing the wrong things that lead our young people into addiction, as they grow up, they get to a place where you're so addicted, and anytime a substance is in control of you, what happens? You're not in control of your mind. So if you see a woman and you decide you're going to rape her, you see a woman, you decide you're going to kill her because she has told you no, you're trying to go after her and make advances and she says no, then you decide you're going to kill her because she said no, because you are under the influence. Are we blaming the person, or are we going to blame the addiction? Because you see, there are things which we assume and there are things which we look at and we say, no, it doesn't matter. But sometimes it's the influence that leads to these behaviors. You're not in control of yourself. So you do things, you end up murdering people, molesting young children, pedophilia. You tell me, a normal human being with just normal sense, how do you find a young girl, a young boy sexually attractive to a point of even you yourself getting into a place of going to force yourself on that young girl or young boy? It is not normal. We have a problem. And I'm saying this, sometimes we hear stories of children who've gone through this, and anytime they try to tell it, the family is trying to hide it. We need to normalize speaking. We need to normalize calling out these people. We need to normalize naming them. Because we cannot continue living in a society where we have young girls and young boys who are being molested, and the family decides to hide it because they don't want an embarrassment in the family. So we need to normalize allowing the victims to speak up. And of course, as they're speaking up, because also not forgetting, the other day we had a story of the man who was allegedly, accused of molesting his two daughters when they were younger, only for the daughters to come out 17 years later to say that they were coerced by their grandmother. To do what? To create that narrative, because they wanted the dad out of the picture. So you see, men are also going through violence. They are being accused for things they're not doing. So at the end of the day, we need to be able to call this out. But then again, there has to be proper investigations to confirm whether the person who's being accused has actually done the thing, or it's some malicious, agendas behind it. Because people are crazy. We are living in a crazy society. We cannot ignore these things. I understand this whole idea of patriarchy and misogyny. And I'll say this, the fact that we've gotten to a place where we feel impressed when a man does basic cooking, a man who does basic cleaning, a man who folds his clothes, a man who cleans up after himself, a man who takes care of his kids, a man who provides for his kids, a man who wakes up to go to work and still comes back home and helps around the house with the kids, especially when that man has a woman who's also working. If a man is doing these small things, it shouldn't be like a wow, he's doing, we are surprised. No, because these are basic human skills. Because I do believe even before you got married to someone, at some point you are a single individual who was doing these things for yourself. You cooked for yourself. You made meals for yourself. You heated food for yourself. So at the end of the day, doing these things should not be impressive, but these are basic human skills. Assuming you lose your wife or you lose your partner, now it's you and the kids, then what happens? You will never do anything because your wife is not there. You'll never clean up. And maybe you cannot even hire a nanny to come and help. So you'll never do nothing. You'll never cook for your kids. You'll never help them learn how to clean up after themselves. You'll never help them learn how to, prepare their own food, take care of themselves. Because you see, sometimes we normalize so many things which are not meant to be normalized. Basic human skills that cuts across. As a woman, you need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to clean after yourself. As a man, you should be able to do the same. And what I'm saying is this, some men are doing this, not all men. We have great men out there. Personally, I'm an advocate for healthy marriages, thriving marriages, great marriages. I advocate for that. From a place of understanding, not all men are messed up. We have men who are emotionally intelligent. We have men who've done the work of self-healing. We have men who've dealt with their issues. We have men who are trying and striving to be better men, better versions of themselves. But then again, pale ambapo kuna nzuri hakuwezi kosa mbaya. Kuna pia wanaume ambao wajali. They do not care about anyone. They could care less about fairness and equality. To them, it's their way or the highway. They mistreat the women in their life. They talk down, at them. When they look at them, they see no value. So they're like, your work is to procreate and to do the duties in the homestead, nothing else. It does not matter whether you're working, right? You do what needs to be done. And I'll say this, when it comes to GBV, it cuts across. It's not just a woman's problem, but also a man's problem. When you sexually harass people on social media, sometimes people think this harassment has to be physical, but an abuser is also the one who goes online to sexually pervert, sexually harass women on social media. You open anonymous accounts and then what do? You start writing nasty comments of how you're going to smash a woman, how you're going to do her, I don't know how. And I'm saying this as someone who's also experienced sexual harassment on social media. I mostly block and delete those comments. Because at the end of the day, how would you feel if your own daughter was on social media and someone comes to sexually harass her in the comment section? You write nasty things over there of what you'll do to a woman. And sometimes it's even the things you wish upon women because you dislike them. And I say this, if you dislike someone, you don't always have to have an opinion or to follow them, block them, forget about them and move on with your life. Because you see, you might think an abuser is just the one who does it physically. But also if you are on the social media platforms and you go commenting sexually perverted, harassing women on comment sections, writing perverted things, what you're going to do to them, calling them names if you're verbally abusing them through your social media platforms, anonymous accounts, you are also part of the problem. You're abusing someone. And also we have women who go to abuse men on social media using anonymous accounts. You write things even when someone is reading, is like, is this person okay? Yes, it's okay to dislike someone. If you want to dislike, well and good. But you don't always have to go and comment nasty things and abuse and harass people on social media. So the abuse is not just for the people who do it physically, but also on the social media space. Coming for their looks, coming for their figures, coming for their physique. You're part of the problem that we have in this country. You're part of the problem. Yes, you're also an abuser. It's just that you're not physically doing it, but you're emotionally, verbally abusing someone. Abuse is not just about you doing it physically to someone and because you know that person personally. No, it doesn't have to be interpersonal. It can be also through social media, people that you do not know. So are you part of the problem we're having in our country? Or are you part of the solution of making our country better, making the people in our country more sane, more better, and at least promoting self-control, endorsing self-control, endorsing self-respect? Are you part of the solution or are you part of the problem? The other thing is we need to stop associating being a good person, that is being a kind person, a person with a good heart, with being someone who tolerates all the harmful things which are being done to them. Those two don't coexist. You can't be kind and still have your boundaries. You can't be kind and decide, you know what, this I'm not going to take. I'm not going to tolerate any disrespect. You're not going to call me names. You're not going to physically touch me in the name of you're angry and you're mad. You're not going to abuse me. So you can't be a good person, and being good does not mean you are foolish. Being good does not mean you are weak. Being good does not mean you are meek. No. You can be good but have your boundaries. Being good does not mean you have to keep on saying yes to everything. Yeah, you can be a good person, you can be a kind person, and still say no and stand your ground. So let us stop associating being a good and a kind person with being someone who takes everything in. If you're a good and a kind person, nyenyekea. Ukikaliwa, nyenyekea. Ukifinyiliwa, nyenyekea. Ukiabuziwa, nyenyekea. Ukitukanwa, nyenyekea. Ukitandikwa, nyenyekea. Wewe ni mtu mzuri. Wewe ni mtu mzuri. And I'm also speaking to Christians. Being a good Christian does not mean you stay where you're being abused, where you're being violated. No, you can be a good Christian who walks away from that which is not good for you. Learn to walk away. The other thing I want to talk about is this. We need to get to a place where, as a society, we normalize singlehood. It is not a disease. Being single is not sickness. Because you see, we've gotten to a place where we've normalized celebrating people who get married. But what about the people who are getting divorced because it did not work out? What do we do? Stigmatize them. Apparently they failed. You don't fail because you walked away from something that was not working. Which one is better? Stay in something that is toxic and lose your life, or walk away and find your freedom? As much as we celebrate marriages, we also need to celebrate people who've been resilient enough to survive in toxic, abusive marriages, and they were able to come out on the other side. We should be able to celebrate that as well. Marriages do not work out. Things happen. And people sometimes they must walk away for the sake of saving their own life and saving their own children. Because you see, the things which you choose to tolerate directly or indirectly influence the kids. If you decide to stay in something toxic you're teaching your kids, yeah, when you grow up and you're going through this, imagine what you have to stay. Because if you walk away, it's going to be shameful. And do you know how many people are staying in spaces where their boundaries are being violated? They're being mistreated, they're being demeaned, they're being manipulated, they're being abused physically, emotionally, psychologically. They're being abused and then they can't walk away. Why? Because we are not normalizing celebrating the people who are able to walk away, because it takes a lot of strength for you to walk away from dysfunction. Especially when you are holding on to the hope that this person can change. But you realize you cannot change them or do the work of change for them. So you have to walk away for your sake, for your own self. And this is why I'm big on talking about people understanding that before you come and become one, you're a single, they are a single. And when you come together, you need to complement each other. And then again, understanding if this becomes so toxic, violent, abusive, I can choose to separate myself from it because that is not what God wants for me. The other thing is this. We need to stop normalizing violence as a form of conflict resolution. We need to get to a place of understanding that violence does not solve nothing. We need to get to a place of understanding that we need to be able to communicate and learn better ways of communicating as individuals, as partners, as, co-parents, people getting to a place where they're able to communicate. And then again, also cultivating emotional intelligence as an individual. When someone says no, take it and leave them. It doesn't have to go your way. Yes, you want someone who does not want you, they want someone else. It is life, it happens. Getting to a place of saying, even if I'm rejected by someone, it does not lessen me, it doesn't hurt my ego. It kind of like, it's going to hurt your heart in one way, right? But then again, it doesn't hurt your ego, because the problem is the ego. When you feel like your ego has been hurt in a particular way, that's why you find a man is going to obsess over a woman, or a woman is going to obsess over a man. And they're going to do what? To start following them around, stalking them on social media, stalking them in real life, and even getting to a place where you end someone's life because they said no to you, because they did not want you. We need to become better when it comes to emotional intelligence, self-regulating, learning how to take no's, learning how to accept rejection, learning that it's okay to be disappointed by people. We have to get to that place so that we don't take it to extreme ends. We are seeing these things on the news all the time. So getting to a place where we understand, yeah, We are going to be rejected by some people. We will want people who do not want us. We're going to love people who won't love us, and they don't have the capacity of loving us. And it is okay. It's part of life. But just because they do not love me, they do not want me, they do not choose me, it doesn't mean I won't find someone who wants me, who loves me, and who's going to choose me. So you don't go to extreme lengths of killing someone just because they said no to your advances. We need to get ourselves in check as individuals. The whole change we desire to have starts from a personal level. Getting to know what you stand for at the core, who you are, what are your values? Are you going to become a person of integrity? What are the things which drive you? How much resilience do you have to the things of life? Accepting the fact that you're going to get disappointed one way or another. Disappointment is inevitable. There's so many things that are going wrong in our society, and at the end of the day, we have to become the change that we want to see. Hashtag and femicide is powerful, but the change begins from you and me. It's how we look at life, how we value each other, how we start seeing each other, what lenses are we using to see the importance and the value of another life. It has to begin from us. We have to become the change we want to see.